Alrighty, folks. Tried live streaming this, but my internet is full of tism. So until I get better internet, these things are gonna be pre-recorded. So honestly, I think that's for the best for now. So in case I, I'll so if I flub anything or whatever, actually no, I won't edit this unless there's like some tism near the beginning or end. But we will be looking at this Godzilla 1998 counter review. Now, I watched this a few years ago. I was not impressed. Actually, no, that to say that I was not impressed would be an understatement. I was kind of flummoxed by some of the argumentation. Now, I have not seen this video in quite some time, like 6 years. So, maybe we'll see. But I'm going. Welcome to this marvelous first episode of this. Hopefully, I can get these out relatively easily, or hopefully, I can get these out at a relative consistent pace. But regardless, let us start. Oh, hold on. Let's read this. Following web show you're about to view is considered comedic, informative, and inoffensive. Remarks that occur to certain individuals should not be absorbed as negativity. I think that's actually kind of funny. Literal or abusive. Okay, that's fair. All films regard blah blah blah. Okay, let's just get this out of the way. I think it's like on the screen for 17 seconds. There we go. From what I remember, yeah, I can tell this is your first review. My first review doesn't exist on YouTube no more because it was that bad. Wait, hold up. Is this Hellraiser music? Let me check. I don't want this to get fucking copy striked. I can't tell, but there is. What? That's just dumb. There's good and bad, yes. In film. I agree. Some of them are appealing. Just gonna keep pausing. While most of them are despised. I mean, that's not. I mean, especially nowadays, since movies, like 90% of mainstream films, are absolute fucking garbage. So we're just gonna mute until it's done. But one movie I praised with passion, yes, and one critic he ridiculed with retribution. Oh boy, I can't wait to see what critic that is. Claiming it bombed big time. I wouldn't. Actually, I think it made its production budget back, but with all the insane marketing, I would assume it didn't even break even. Was misjudged. You're fucking wrong. Numbered, I don't care. Okay, I don't give a shit. But it's not enough, alright? Because it's my turn to speak. Okay? So listen to my review. Fair enough. Maybe I remembered this review wrong. To my response, okay. Oh boy. My counterattack. Oh man. This kind of comes off a little
A lot of you must be thinking I'm out of my mind for what I'm about to do.
Yeah.
But whenever I hear things like this movie sucks,
because it does.
or this movie blows,
'Cause it fucking does.
or even what a piece of shit,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like wanting to scream like real loud.
Well, it sounds like you have a fucking problem.
I'm sure you wouldn't believe me if I told you this, but when I look at this film today, I feel it being more misunderstood than it being seen as a bad movie.
No,
And to be
you're
completely
wrong.
honest, this is actually my favorite monster disaster movie of all time.
I mean, he said favorite, which is perfectly acceptable. But you have to call into question at least some of his taste, because favorite monster disaster movie of all time. Hmm. You have my attention. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna completely shit on you since this is your quote unquote favorite, and you never didn't say the quote unquote best. So
But to the hardcore fans of the Godzilla franchise, it was a real disaster film to them.
yeah, because it fucking was. It was. It did not resemble Godzilla in any way, shape, or form.
And what I mean is that it sucked.
Yeah, it did.
This is a movie that is despised by a lot of fans and brought shame to the original's name, simply known as the King of the Monsters.
This is true.
After many years since 1954 and 85, we had high hopes to see the same monster we all knew and loved on the big screen all around the world.
Are you gonna pull a Ryan Johnson before Ryan Johnson and say you didn't like it because it subverted your expectations? Please tell me you are. That's gonna be funny.
But after 14 years, fans still haven't gotten over their disappointments on this very film.
Yeah.
After watching a review of it done by the Nostalgia Critic,
Holy crap, was that stupid!
I was so fucking pissed. I mean,
Oh,
judging
man.
by his obnoxious ranting, this lame brain just doesn't know what he's saying. Like,
You understand that Nostalgia Critic is supposed to be like an exaggeration, right? He's a character, right? I mean, like, I've very much fallen out of, uh, I've very much fallen out of favor, I guess you could say, with Nostalgia Critic. I mean, I used to really enjoy his videos, even up until a couple years ago, but now I just kind of feel he's obligated to do it. And while I don't hate the skits he does, because I understand their purpose, they could be funnier. Let's just say that.
he knows everything. And does he really have to be so nitpicky and arrogant about it too?
Oh, nitpicky. Nitpick. One of the most misused terms in media discussion.
What a douchebag. And it's not
Fair.
just him, but many others. And I had no idea that this movie was such a failure to the franchise.
Excuse. You didn't know how much of a failure this movie was to the franchise. How could you not? What? I'm sorry, that does not compute. Now, assuming you didn't look at like how much the film grossed, which again, it made twice its initial budget, production budget, but it obviously if you pay attention, or sorry, if you remember back in the day, and maybe look it up online because there are a lot of old Godzilla '98 ads. I even used one of the Taco Bell ones in my review of it, and I remember even though I was only about 4 or 5 when I went to go see it. Yeah, I remember I had that little egg toy where the little baby Godzilla's in the egg, the little raptor, the baby raptor is in the egg, and it had a little liquid in it. I remember having that. I remember this movie was everywhere, plastered everywhere, and from people who have a better memory of back then, yeah, it was plastered everywhere. So it was a failure financially because production budget's one thing, and then of course you have marketing, which it probably didn't even make its money back there. And then you have the fact that did not represent the franchise well, and it was just a shitty movie. It's a shitty remake and a shitty movie. It's like it's one thing to be a shitty remake, but at the very least, or a shitty adaptation. It's like I guess we'll get into that later, but at the very least, it could have been a decent movie, which it wasn't.
and not to mention, universally hated.
Yeah.
Even the angry video game nerd said in his Godzilla-thon that it doesn't even count as a Godzilla film. It was hard
Agreed.
enough for me to accept such a harsh fact that the movie was nothing compared to the original. But even
Because it isn't. It is objectively inferior to the original, both in terms of quality and cultural significance, but we'll probably get to that soon enough.
so, I had great fondness of the 98 film.
Okay?
Despite what people say, all that should matter is I still enjoy it, even to
I mean, to you personally, if you still enjoy it to this very day, that's fine. I mean, I enjoy the AVP movies, unironically, and those were movies I loved from my childhood and early teen years. They're bad. They're bad movies, but I love them. That's perfectly fine if you love a bad movie.
day. But that just wasn't enough. I mean, after many arguments and being ridiculed as an outcast like the film was, well, now I have a lot to say about it.
Okay.
This movie has been mistreated and misjudged that it deserves more praise than you may realize.
Oh, you're fucking
this
wrong.
This is my counter review.
Oh boy.
Now we know how trailers lure us in with teaser trailers, which are an effective way to make us curious to see their movies.
This is true.
Examples are Stargate being the Stargate?
What is it?
It's your stomach.
Independent
I haven't seen Stargate, so I can't, or the movie. I've seen some of the shows, but so I can't make too much comment on Stargate. I have seen Independence Day. Dumb movie, but very fun. Very entertaining.
Day with the White House getting blown up. And then the new Godzilla mystery, along with the slogan.
Size does matter. That's why he's a little bitch.
To raise the bar even higher, advertisement signs appear on every block describing his attributes, saying, his foot is as long as this bus, he's twice as tall as the sign. I mean everything and everywhere. That sure got us excited. Suffice to say though, their trailers always get us hyped to see their amazing movie, only to
Don't you mean Roland Emmerich's trailers? Just say Roland Emmerich's trailers. Don't say their trailers, because you're showing... I mean, I guess this was intentional, because that's kind of what Roland Emmerich does. He suckers you in with a trailer, and then he gives you like an hour and a half of decent, mindless entertainment. But it's... a lot of times you'll just kind of forget it. Except for Independence Day, because that I have fond memories of that movie, too. It's dumb, but it's fun.
realize they're nothing but garbage. What? You weren't expecting another rubber suit? Or another Star Wars, maybe?
Oh wow, he really is doing that. No, I think people were expecting a CGI Godzilla. What people wanted was the character to be represented accurately, which is not what they got. CGI Godzilla would have been fine, because that's what people were expecting. Because this is the U.S. and this was the late '90s, and CGI was very much being heavily used. Where the I think where the effect was the attraction, basically. Not always, but a lot of times, and this was very much the case. But so you are doing the whole it subverted your expectations, or it's not what you expected. That's why you don't like it.
I mean, just because their trailers didn't lead our expectations high enough? Like, I wasn't expecting the same deal I saw with the toys and everything, but
I mean, well, what? I mean, sure, maybe not necessarily that they would look all like this, but they would at least have some kind of vague similarity in terms of design. I don't really see what the problem is of expecting Godzilla to look like Godzilla.
I wouldn't know. Not till I would go see it, at least. I don't know about you, but I for one was excited, especially it being from the same creators of Independence Day. And boy, the critic sure hates their films.
Okay, I mean, Roland Emmerich is just kind of a he's a slightly better Michael Bay. I'll give him that. He's a slightly better Michael Bay.
So after seeing a lot of destruction from their last movie, I was expecting to see a similar formula brought to you by tons of explosions and whatnot. The trailer I saw shows an old geezer fishing in the docks as he reels in what appears to be the biggest catch of his life. Then he runs for the hills before his total annihilation of his nearly aged end. That scene was just hilarious, and of course scared the crap out of me as a kid.
And that's fine. That's fine. I mean, when I saw this as a kid, from what I remember, I was excited too, so that's fine. That eye has not aged well at all. I'm sure it looked good back then, but not now.
trailer was just awesome. So after many weeks and months of waiting, the movie started airing, and what we saw wasn't what fans wanted, resulting in being ultimately hated.
Yeah. Yeah. You go to Godzilla movie to expect to see Godzilla, not some retarded looking iguana.
But still, there are things to justify this film as its own, even with the title. And I'm a
I hate this argument so much where it's like okay, we'll get to that later. We'll get to that later.
about to tell you. Usually movies are exciting when there are actors you recognize. So here's a few mini complaints people have with this movie: the casting. You may think that the actors were all miscast, but they fit their roles rather well, to be honest.
I mean, I don't think they were miscast. I just think that they were shitty actors for the most part. Now, I'm not usually the one that always hate on Matthew Broderick. He did the best he could with what he was given, but what he was given was shit. That's kind of the problem. All of the Simpsons voice actors did a better job because they're they have more talent than a lot of the main cast. And that one dude that played the French guy, I believe he was the main villain in the Mission Impossible movie, but the first one, anyways. But the problem isn't that they were miscast; it's just that they were shit.
Matthew Broderick as Nico Tatopoulos is a biologist who goes by the worm guy on account of his obsession with his worm.
No, he's not a. He's he's a.
Worm studies.
I get. Yeah, I guess he was a no, he was a radiologist. He was a Well, I get. No, he was a biologist, but he was studying the effects of radiation on biological organisms. So, I guess it's not wrong, but
But most of the time, it's because of those who keep getting his name wrong.
Dr. Nico Papadopoulos. Dr. Nico Papadopoulos. Research team member Dr. Nick Papadopoulos.
Nick on appelle l'homme vert de terre.
The problem the critic has with him is his acting, being much more annoying than any other nerdy characters with glasses and obnoxious acting, like those in Jurassic Park and Independence Day with Jeff Goldblum.
That's chaos, dude.
well, I mean, in Jurassic Park, that was kind of the start of that trope. And Jeff Goldblum was great in Jurassic Park, but by the time you got to 98, this kind of character had been played out so many goddamn times, even by Roland Emmerich himself. It's just like, can we please just stop? It's not good. And you get Matthew Broderick to do that, which again, I don't want to shit on him, but the guy's not that great. So again,
Oh, come on. It's like if you were to say the same to Christopher Walken or William Shatner. He's a
no. No, because look, I'm not saying Jeff Goldblum isn't a good actor. He is, but the whole Christopher Walken being weird and being Christopher Walken and William Shatner's constant pauses. Well, both have enough, especially Shatner in his prime, had enough charisma to pull that off. And Walken is, his bizarre takes is just fascinating in how weird he can be and how much effort he puts forth into it. That's when he's I mean, if you watch Suicide Kings, Walken's fantastic in that film, and he's not that Walken from what I watched. Granted, I only watched a few. I didn't watch it all the way through, but that's another story for another day.
good actor.
But life finds a way.
Aside from the stuttering, both he and Matthew are personified as nerds, which means they don't socialize well with outside people.
That's true. That's very true. But the direction that Matthew Broderick was given was shit. Because Matthew Broderick is not very good, he can't make that lack of direction. He made the lack of direction and the shitty script work as best as his limited talents could. That's why I don't hate him in this movie, because because there are very few actors that could pull off a convincing performance because like it feels as if like no one gave a shit when on this movie.
I find that appropriate for them, mostly to those obsessed with their studies. Since Nick doesn't stutter, and whether you call it being typecasted or not, monster films probably weren't his best movies to act in, but I think he's portrayed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. So the fact that he was casted in it should be held against it. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. See, he's supposed to be stuttering and awkward, which, fine, so that's okay if his acting is shit.
Very well, and I believe it practically makes him fit as a real person. Maybe not the best way, but it makes him straightforward and can be a bit funny at times too.
Wrong floor.
I'll admit that part of the movie did get a chuckle out of me.
But unlike his all-famous line right here,
That's a lot of fish.
and wow, just listen to the critic ramble on and on about it. Even people I talk to say that's the worst line ever used, like it's that big of a deal. Okay, folks, seriously, you have to get over this line. I mean, it isn't as stupid as those top 10 worst lines in Ninja Turtles 3.
It's hammer time!
I mean, if you see a lot of fish piled up by
I mean, I agree to an extent, but it's like it's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be in one of those awkward, funny moments, but it fails because because the delivery is off. He's just like, that's a lot of fish. Okay, like it's I agree to an extent. I do think that it's not a terrible line. It's just kind of like, why did you keep that in there? Were you trying to be funny? It's not funny. You know, it would have been it's a nitpick. It's a nitpick.
dump trucks? Wouldn't you feel like saying something like that too? If
I mean, I guess. I don't know why you're spending so much fucking time on this nothing line. Just say, like, just.
any person in real life makes an obvious statement, what difference does it make if it's used in films too? I mean, it could be because that literally was a lot of fish in the pile. It was like saying,
I got a fishy feeling about this.
I mean, don't tell me you've never said something that surprises you in your personal life that's
Yeah. I mean, I have, but the intention was that it was supposed to be I think it was supposed to be funny, and it wasn't funny. It was supposed to be like an awkward little joke thrown in there. You know, that's what it was supposed to be, and it did not fill its purpose. It did not fill the role it was assigned.
so explicit. Like, here's another good example like this.
Really, Jimmy Neutron? Really, we're doing. Oh, God, we're doing fucking whataboutism.
That's a big chicken.
Okay. Here's the difference between the lines. You have Sheen here who's seeing a giant fucking alien chicken, something he's never seen before. He's clearly terrified, and all he can muster is, that's a big chicken, as he stutters, because he's terrified. That's all he can say in that moment, if he ever chose to say it. While Matthew Broderick's trying to say, well, that's a lot of fish, like it's some kind of joke. And again, it's not funny. They're different lines with different contexts.
See, it's everywhere. It's the kind of thing people find endearing when saying something like that in the middle of a disaster.
Okay. This is this is prime whataboutism. It doesn't matter if it's in other things, because you need to look at those examples individually. Again, Sheen was fucking terrified of the giant chicken. He never seen a giant chicken before. That's all he can muster to say. It was meant to kind of emphasize the situation. While here, it's supposed to be kind of a funny, offhanded remark at, I guess, small talk or whatever, and it just comes off as really awkward and pointless. Like again, it's a nitpick. It's not a huge flaw, but like it doesn't matter if there are lines like this in other films. Like
Scenario. When Nick said it to O'Neill, he was confused and taken out of focus by it. It was such a massive understatement, but that's why it's funny. As the
I mean, humor is one of those subjective things. If you found it funny, that's fine. But I thought it was just kind of odd. Like, yeah, that is a lot of fish. It was with Broderick's delivery of it. I think. Again, he doesn't have that much talent as an actor.
Scene builds up for one line, he gives it a stupid obvious fact. I mean, sure it was pointless to say it, but maybe he was just trying to make small talk.
Why are you spending so much time on this useless fucking line? Just you could have spent like a few sentences just kind of explaining it or whatever, and you're just what is the point? What is the fucking point of spending so much goddamn time on this fucking pointless line? It could be cut out of the movie, nothing would change. God damn it.
I mean, for fucking out loud, it's just a line. Whatever you decide to
Yes, it is just a line. Why are you spending so much time trying to justify it then? Jesus Christ.
react to it, either laugh or just shut up and take it.
Just shut up and take it. How about no? How about fuck off? How about I react the way I want to react to it?
It's even more pointless to complain about it.
And it's equally as pointless to try and fucking explain. If it's pointless to complain about it, which I can somewhat understand, why the fuck are you spending so much goddamn time trying to justify it and explain it? Gah.
No, seriously, he really should stop pretending he knows how humor works.
So should you.
I actually find him screaming like a girl funnier than his constant maniacal fucking ranting.
Okay. Why Jimmy Neutron? Why the Jimmy Neutron movie? Why that of all things?
That's a lot of fish.
Moving forward, we have Audrey Timmons, played by Maria Patillo, as Nico's ex-girlfriend and an upcoming TV reporter.
Yeah, and she was the worst actor of the fucking movie.
She was rewarded as worst supporting actress in the film, which you can tell the way she has a hard time keeping her mouth shut.
Yeah, she was like Daisy Ridley before Daisy Ridley.
Quite literally.
Just, okay, I want you to look at this expression on her face. This is a woman. This is a woman who's trying to debate whether or not to fart. Like, she's debating on whether or not she should fart or not. She's not looking at somebody, she used to have a romantic relationship with. She looks confused. She looks confused. Like she's like she was given no fucking direction at all. Just look at this. Look at this.
Of course you can tell that she still likes him. However, she does have a hard time keeping the relationship from being destroyed. Out of all the cast, she happens to be the weakest in the group because of
Yes, I agree. She's absolute shit.
her odd behavior. But I always think that some girls tend to be socially awkward, and that can be like that in the movies too. Like she doesn't know how to be sorry to Nick.
Oh my god, who the point is that she executes the things you're saying wrong cause she's shit. That is the point. Her acting was trash. It doesn't matter what you say that she's supposed to go for. It was executed well. It wasn't executed well.
She tends to be naive at times, but at least she redeems herself in the end.
No, she doesn't redeem herself in the end. She is a fucking okay. She steals top secret military information. Now, granted, the granted, there was a videotape that had top secret written on it because the people in the base are fucking retarded. But she stole top secret information, let that information leak to the public, costing Nick his job. Now, granted, Nick shouldn't have let her on there to fucking begin with, but she doesn't, like, this is, oh, fucking Christ.
Thanks, Audrey.
Sure.
I would have agreed that she's the worst, but thinking back on it, I feel her role is also appropriate. Both Audrey and Nick are supposed to be socially awkward in
Yes, they're supposed to be socially awkward, but they're shit at conveying it. That is the point. That is the point. It doesn't matter what you're trying to go for. If you execute it like shit, then it doesn't matter. I'm tired. Like, Jesus, this is like God damn. This was made. I think. When was this made? When was this made? This was made in November of 2013. This was 7 fucking years, 6.5, 7 years ago. Good God. This was before the whole objectivity versus subjectivity debate even happened. Where we are now in the year of our Lord 2020. Oh boy.
In their own ways, and that's why they belong together. Now here's Hank Azaria, best known as Moe from The Simpsons, plays as Animal Victor Pilati in the film.
Yeah, he's also Apu. Apu's awesome. And getting rid of Apu was a mistake.
This guy is just freaking hilarious and is actually my favorite character of the whole movie.
Yeah, you know what? I'll give him that. I mean, I didn't particularly care for him, but you know, Hank Azaria actually has talent. So, you know, I'll give you that.
The way he tries to be a New Yorker by carrying a Brooklyn accent, it makes you wonder if that's supposed to be a stereotype for a New Yorker citizen.
Hey, I'm eating. You don't see I'm eating?
He sounds familiar, though.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge reference. This was 2013. At least you don't have complete shit tastes.
Yeah, maybe not. So his role is a TV cameraman who often hangs out with Audrey.
Now I'm pissed.
He's also made up of four-leaf clovers, being that he always risks himself just for the sake of videotaping.
Yeah, it's ridiculous fucking plot armor. Yeah, that scene's fucking stupid. That scene is fucking stupid. Like, they established in the film this thing gives off a lot of radiation. If he wasn't stepped on, he should be dying of radiation poisoning.
That honestly had me scared shitless as a kid. I'd really hate to see that happen if that really would have squashed him. You lucky son of a gun.
Yeah, plot armor is pretty fucking thick in this film.
Harry Shearer, who voices Mr. Burns, plays as Charles K. Menn as an egotistical hotshot TV news anchor, while Audrey is spinning her wheels as his...
Agreed, and he does that and this is an example of somebody who's given a role and he executes it well. Very good, because he's a good actor.
errand girl / assistant.
Very beautiful. Have I ever told you that before?
He's a womanizer, despite having a wife, and is often so blunt about it. Whether getting intimate with Audrey or stealing her report she stole from Nick, he's someone who only cares about himself, who wants to get his way with wealth, power, and fame. That's how businessmen are nowadays, aren't they? Shows how corrupt we are, especially towards women.
No.
Something about older men with younger women just seems like...
Excuse me, man.
Okay, so we're comparing so I get this is supposed to be a joke, and that's fine, but we're now comparing okay?
Would you mind grabbing my nuts?
Well, you know, at least somebody remembers Celebrity Deathmatch. And in Bill's defense, we're going after younger women. His wife is Hillary. Just saying.
Yeah, like I said about business folk, at least we can be glad this one's smarter than most dumb blondes we've seen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so super smart. She's so smart that she just puts a piece of gum on the cutout. That's so smart, guys.
So other characters include Lucy Pilati, Animal's wife, Elsie Chapman, Mendel Craven, Colonel Hicks, Sergeant O'Neill, and Philippe Roach, played by the best actor in the whole film out of all whom everyone says he's so badass, Jean Reno. Philippe is a special...
That is correct. This guy right here, best character in the film, best acted in the film. He's actually not that bad of a character. I agree. I like him.
agent of the French Secret Service who often poses as an insurgent agent just to get close to the real situation at hand. He's the leader of the group, while their job is to help cover up the mess done by the French in their nuclear tests. There are times when he's cool, and there are times when he just makes us grin over his complaints about American pastries and coffee.
You got this coffee?
Get it? Because he's French.
I call this America.
Even stuff from his own country doesn't satisfy him.
You said this was French roast.
Ah oui, regardez. C'est marqué French roast.
Get it? Because they're French. It's funny. Laugh.
More cream.
He's one of the main protagonists who has that inability to try to adapt to American culture. He even imitates the best accent in the whole freaking world.
Yeah, it's fucking stupid. This scene is just stupid. Like, why specifically is he imitating Elvis? How is that not suspicious as fuck? How is it not suspicious as fuck that somebody is imitating Elvis? That's just so fucking stupid.
Oh, thank you very much.
I mean, it's a good impression of Elvis. I'll give him that. But why is he impersonating Elvis to get past a U.S. military checkpoint? Why is this whole scene is so fucking stupid? Why do they not have any kind of like what unit are you part of? What's the code or whatever? It's like they just look at him and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, go ahead through. And they're acting suspicious as fuck because everyone in this movie is a retard.
Shame it ain't Jerry Lewis, but I'm glad he picked this one.
Elvis Presley movies. What's the king?
All hail the King of Rock.
Yeah, and it's fucking stupid.
Thank you very much.
Seriously, this guy is very cool. Like how
True.
he shows his way of getting through obstacles that makes other people look bad.
I was just about to get it.
He makes the French look cool.
Where did you find this guy?
He's from France.
Now these two actors I gotta bring up are the biggest surprise to anyone who never imagined being in the movie. Laurie Goldman and Michael Lerner, who portrays as Mayor Roger Ebert and his aide Gene Siskel.
Yeah, and it was incredibly petty because it was very petty of Emmerich to do that, to make them look like fucking incompetent morons because they didn't like Independence Day. That's a very adult thing to do.
Mayor Ebert is a self-centered angry man obsessed with his re-election campaign and complains about having his aide around who doesn't know what's going on.
You never know what's going on.
Thank you.
He treats him like his idiot brother who must agree and follow along with his plans.
Oh yeah, get it? Get yeah, it's commentary on how people how people, a lot of critics agreed with Roger Ebert when it comes to Roland Emmerich films and them being surface level at best, and don't really have much substance to them in terms of plot and character. It's super deep, guys.
Even keep you around.
Clearly, he's another greedy, power-hungry man who likes to yell a lot and thinks he has everything in his control.
You don't have the authority to do that.
Try and stop me.
How dare you defy my power?
But what makes him funny and better than Cayman is his addiction to candy, who will get snippy whoever tries to take it away from him, like the...
Yeah, get it? Because he's fat. It's a fat joke. Get it? It's he's fat. He wants his candy because he's fat.
greedy, needy little kid he is.
Back off, Gene.
Oh man, yeah, get it? He's so needy. He's such an arrogant, fat piece of shit. Because Siskel and Gene and the Siskel stand-in right here, he's an incompetent moron who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Who is a yes man. He's a yes man, guys. It's so petty. It's actually kind of funny.
I've always thought that they were the very same ones from their own shows, but their voices are different and the real-life story shows their appearances much differently.
Yeah, but they're stand-ins. They're very obvious stand-ins.
The big shock to everyone is them wondering why they were put in the movie. Supposedly, they didn't like any of Roland's movies, not giving thumbs up to any of them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't agree with Siskel and Ebert on everything, but
A mixed review, but thumbs down from me.
Same kind of thumbs down for me too.
Yeah.
Despite what the reaction
it's like I like how he said, like, when he said it's a mixed review but a thumbs down. Like, you didn't even try and put any context to it.
is to the two previous films Dean and Roland produced, they were never used as an example to show their feelings on those two, like have them killed or devoured by Godzilla.
Yeah. Oh, well, actually, he did. He made them into, what I've explained earlier: a fat, immature, petulant mayor and an incompetent, mindless yes man. He made he shed on them. Just he didn't have them get eaten or killed by the monster.
Even though they were put on just to be made fun of, I do think they're hilarious. Even though
Yeah, that's fine. Like, I've noticed, again, this is very much, it's like, you're not providing, this is supposed to be a defense of the film. You're not, like, providing evidence. If I was to defend, let's say, the Star Wars prequels, I would provide evidence for each film as to why they maybe aren't as bad as everyone says they are, or at the very least say these prequels may not be great, but they're better than the sequels because of X, Y, and Z. And I would actually provide references and evidence. This is the same old, like, oh, I feel this and I like this. It's like, and that's perfectly fine, but this is supposed to be a counter review. You're supposed to be defending the film. You said it was misjudged, but you're doing a lot of arguments from your own personal feelings, so that's perfectly fine. But provide references. Actually, demonstrate the film is of quality, or that it has been misjudged. At least you're not doing that.
they're not the very ones, their impersonation of the two famous Hollywood film critics make them stand out as their own characters with amusing traits and being in a Godzilla movie.
What the
It's not a Godzilla movie.
hell is the matter with you people? You've caused more damage than that goddamn thing did!
Exactly. Fucking exactly. They caused more damage than the military caused. Give me 1 second here. All right, sorry about that. I got a text that I'm going back to work this Wednesday. Huzzah. Anyways, let's continue.
I know your fucking neighbors!
They weren't killed in the end, but instead were given a thumbs down and equal to saying, "Screw you, asshole, I quit."
Oh, yeah. Oh, he showed him.
Which indicates what Roland would be saying to them: "Who cares what you think? This movie was awesome."
No.
Which I think is also hilarious.
Gene, wait a minute, where you going? I need you.
Quite a surprise. There's even a small cameo of Nancy Cartwright who plays Bart Simpson. But any idea why the fuck Barney is in it too? Quite a reunion we have here. And on top of that, we got Godzilla. And speaking of the devil, here's the biggest moment fans have been waiting for. The very star of this film, Godzilla himself. Or as Toho renamed him, Zilla makes
Yeah, because he's not Godzilla.
his full astounding appearance right before our eyes. And it certainly looks like he had more done than a simple haircut.
Yeah, he looks nothing like Godzilla.
We were completely thrown off by this new look and design of the big guy. To bring up AVGN's statement, it so doesn't look anything like the same monster we remembered it to be.
Yeah, because you call your movie Godzilla. Then you present a monster that looks nothing like Godzilla. Like, regardless if you want to say about Spider-Man Homecoming or whatnot, and how he doesn't look like, doesn't act like Spider-Man. At least he looks like Peter Parker, and the suit looks like Spider-Man's suit. But this doesn't even get that right.
So what happened to him? Well, to answer that requires us to rewind back at the beginning of the film, the opening to be exact, where our first sight takes place in French Polynesia, a group of tropical islands in the South Pacific. As you can tell when you watch the opening, it plays old footage of nuclear tests done after World War II was over. Most notably, an island known as Bikini Atoll is where the first hydrogen bomb was tested. And at the end is the single egg sitting alone, consuming radiation around the atmosphere, and thus revealing Godzilla's origin. Now, to get extremely nerdy and technical, this will be very confusing, but you might be wondering after watching the opening that we're under the impression that the French were the ones that created Godzilla, not the Americans. If I remember correctly, weren't we the ones who provided the tests on Bikini Atoll? Because the opening
I've never heard this criticism for, like, what is the point of this? Like, who cares? Who cares who created the monster?
shows actual footage of nuclear tests done by the Americans.
Yeah, they used stock footage. If the intent of the movie was that the French made Godzilla, then the French made Godzilla. They're just using stock footage.
Especially the two famous ones, Crossroad Baker, 1946, and Castle Bravo, 1954. The very first hydrogen bomb, which, believe it or not, was the very fallout incident that both inspired the 1954 Japanese film and transpired Godzilla himself to be created by us. I repeat, by us. The French, however, did their nuclear tests elsewhere on a separate island far away from Bikini Atoll.
Okay. But in the film, the French are the ones that created it. This is just kind of pointless.
Called Maroa Atoll. It became their testing site, and their nuclear project was called Canopus, 1968, 30 years prior for the 1998 film to happen. TriStar used this particular test site as the basis for their monster Zilla to mutate from the fallout. So that was their actual testing area, not Bikini Atoll. And according to the map, Bikini Atoll is not even part of French Polynesia.
Who fucking cares? Why are you going over this? If you're defending the film, then like defend the film. Don't go over this useless bullshit.
It's on Marshall Islands, another island country like French Polynesia, but
who
they're
fucking
not even
cares? Move the fuck on. You're defending the film. Don't go over this useless bullshit.
Related. The movie with Godzilla's title shows his origin, but with a different monster, except from another island.
Yeah. That's a different origin, okay, in terms of location, okay, who fucking cares? Like, and legendary, the MonsterVerse Godzilla isn't even a mutant. He wasn't mutated. He naturally evolved the ability to consume radiation. He still looks and acts like Godzilla. Fucking hell.
What a freaking mind blow we have, especially when they clearly don't match.
How is that a mind blow?
However, the one thing I do find interesting here is that both monsters come from opposite sites. Godzilla's from the North Pacific, and Zilla comes from the South Pacific. Like if they're from the North Pole and the South Pole. It kind of reminds you of where the location of the original and remake of The Thing takes place in.
Who cares? Who fucking cares? Why are you going over this? This has no relevance. If you're trying to prove that this film has been misjudged, but you're doing a terrible fucking job at it.
The Arctic and Antarctic. How chilling. Well, despite everything else, I have to say I really like how the setting and the music fits with the mood and atmosphere. It does feel like any Godzilla movie, like if it's on Monster Island. The scenery is different.
I mean, I will give the movie credit. The opening is actually pretty decent. It is pretty decent. I'll give it that.
However, as the islands are all inhabited by reptiles and amphibians. Those poor lizards. Anyway, the opening may be a mess, but nothing is really accurate when it comes to Godzilla. Suffice to say, it remains faithful to its predecessor in respect to the original beast's origin. However, both monsters differ substantially. Most important is their species. As many would believe, Godzilla is kind of a hybrid of a Tyrannosaurus Rex and a Stegosaurus, but he's also believed to be a mutation of a fictional dinosaur called a Godzillasaurus.
Well, it depends on what continuity you're going by. In the original film, it was just a mutated sea-dwelling dinosaur, sea-dwelling prehistoric creature. It wasn't until Godzilla versus King Kong, I believe this was the American version, where they decided to say it's like some kind of crossbred mutation or whatever. And then in the Heisei era, he was his own mutated fictional dinosaur.
Though many debated and some still don't know what he really is, Toho really made such a mysterious monster.
Yeah.
TriStar, on the other hand, tried to be a bit more realistic with their monster.
And they fucking failed in that aspect. They failed miserably.
While Godzilla is that of a hybridity mutated dinosaur done by the Americans, Zilla's inception here is from a reptilian egg irradiated by the fallout from the French, which happens to be an iguana.
Yeah, and it makes no fucking sense why it'd be on French Polynesia.
Yeah, that's what he appears to be, so basically, he's a giant lizard.
I mean, being a giant lizard is fine if you look like Godzilla.
This is the name stealer everybody hates that has been given other names like Fraudzilla, Notzilla, Trizilla, you
Yeah, because it's not Godzilla.
name it. It just points and laughs. From all the complaints people have with this movie, the problem was not because of the monster's design, but because of its characteristics.
Oh, no, a big part of it was the design. And the characteristics, of course, but a big part of it was the design, because, it looks nothing like Godzilla.
And there's many good reasons behind it. It may look like such a letdown already, but don't count your lizards before they mutate yet.
Why, I'll let you make the argument.
There are so many significant traits of what makes this kind of monster unique in his own way and stand out from the original, which
Yeah, stand out a little too much.
you won't believe what you're about to hear very soon. So stay tuned for part 2.
Oh boy, yeah. Gonna get into that one. How long have I been going? About 50 some minutes. We can tackle the part 2. Let me just take a quick restroom break. Well, actually, I'm gonna wait till. Hold on. I'm gonna wait till it completely buffers, and then I'll take a quick restroom break. Okay, here we go, and I will be right back. All right, I'm back. I guess we'll continue with this concentrated-tism. Let's go. Actually, let me check if I'm still recording. All right. Okay.
In my previous video, I
need
went
to
over
skip
how
that.
the actors stand out as human characters.
Yeah, and you
If
failed.
that's so hard to believe, then you try acting in a movie without really acting in a movie.
The fuck is that supposed to mean?
But in all my years, I've been ignorant. I've never seen so much hate from this movie directed towards one being created by two of the most hated directors of all time.
I would not say they're two of the most hated directors of all time. Honestly, I think Michael Bay gets a lot more fucking hate. And especially currently, right now, you're looking at Neil Druckmann and Rian Johnson. I would not say that these two, they get a lot of hate for this movie, but I would not say they're two of the most hated of all time. That's a bit of an overstatement.
Everybody
Even in 2013.
critiques their writing, their lack
Fucking George Lucas got more hate than these two for the Star Wars prequels.
of caring, and how selfish, greedy bastards they are, and don't give two shits about the one creature we wanted to see due to the Big Apple, like it always.
Yeah, kind of. They think Roland Emmerich has gone on record saying he doesn't give a shit about Godzilla, and the studio I think had to pressure him several times to actually direct, and it's like, yeah, he obviously didn't give a shit.
Always does to Tokyo. It was disgraced enough after learning its true origin from the French's nuclear fallout.
No, people. I'm sure people had some issue with the origins, but Godzilla's origins have changed, and I think he actually goes over this in the video. But it's not necessarily the origin; it's how the monster itself is executed.
But my last message leaves you skeptical. Everything I've said about this monster being special, I meant it. With significant traits.
It's certainly it's certainly special. And yeah, it's special in its own unique way.
It has, it very much makes it so unique in its own way and stand out from the original.
Yeah, standing out from the original is fine, but you need to be faithful. And this wasn't a faithful design.
Even with new tricks of his own. For one,
yeah, new tricks. Okay.
He can burrow underground.
I guess that's fine. It does. He burrows under New York City and doesn't cause any kind of seismic activity for whatever fucking reason. He's made this. He's burrowed this massive hole under these massive systems of fucking tunnels under fucking New York. But yeah, it's fucking stupid.
When the critic complained how he disappeared to where he can easily be spotted, he missed where he dug a hole in the subway station to hide underground.
Yeah, okay, fine, but you also have to consider the fact that how is nobody feeling this thing burrowing underneath the fucking subway systems? Like him, the earth shakes from just him walking. How is this massive creature burrowing underneath New York not being detected in any way, shape, or form? Makes no fucking sense.
And let me say, that is one big asshole.
Holy
yeah, and it makes no sense that nobody detected it.
Christ.
Even if they do see him, they were fleeing, just like the Japanese always do. So how?
Who cares? The issue is that this thing just randomly disappears. It just vanishes into the ether, like it exists in a separate world.
How the hell would they know where he is?
By the seismic activity that should be very prevalent if this giant monster is burrowing underground.
Also, if he was behind all those buildings, then wouldn't parts of him stick out since he's supposed to be tall?
I guess. But they specifically said it. Didn't they say they lost him in a building?
Well, he's not as tall or big as Godzilla, being that he is 285 feet tall, and Godzilla is at least 300 feet, so that's how he's able to blend in.
Sorry. Godzilla Earth is the size of a fucking mountain, so.
What?
Okay, how the hell did he not even fucking feel the fucking footsteps? Whatever, that seems fucking stupid anyways.
So much for size does matter, but then again, Toho
Right.
keeps changing Godzilla's scale, so it hardly.
Okay, Godzillasaurus is supposed to be a dinosaur, you dumbass. Yeah, they keep changing his scale. Who fucking cares? This isn't. Who fucking cares?
Matters onto that end. And even so, size still matters to the human eye, even close up in front of your terrifying little faces.
They said the marketing was size does matter, and I will say they do make him look big, but like he's even if he is smaller, he's a fucking pussy. He
I mean, if he actually came that close to my face, I think I'd shit myself.
no fucking shit if a giant monster did that to your face. That's not the fucking point. The point is like they say size does matter, and they just kind of made him not small, but they didn't like take advantage of it. Of their marketing. Like, kind of felt like you were lied to.
So after he emerges from the depths of hell, he takes the bait. Another claim the critic makes is that lizards don't eat fish except for bugs and trees. To most degree, that's true. They are mostly and strictly vegetarians.
Iguanas are.
But there are exceptions when it's presented as substitutes. However, marine iguanas in fact do eat fish.
Okay, yeah, and it makes no fucking sense why this thing would be a marine iguana since marine iguanas are native to the Galapagos Islands. How the fuck is a marine iguana make it to the French Polynesia? Unless it swam, like, what is it, 4,000 miles or crossed through several continents?
Despite being herbivorous by eating seaweed, they will take carnivorous opportunities that present themselves.
Okay, that's not... Like, that's not necessarily the point. The point is, like, okay, he's eating fish, that's fine, but... That's not what Godzilla does. I mean, you could have Godzilla eat fish, but as long as he acts like Godzilla.
Although I heard people debate whether fish is considered meat or not,
Who fucking... Yes, it is meat. By the definition of meat, that is what it is. Like, the whole... This food pyramid shit is wholly irrelevant.
it's more of a yes and no. So like for example, if you're Catholic, it doesn't count. If you're Jewish, then they are what they called pariv or...
Who cares? Who fucking... It's the flesh of a dead animal, so it is meat.
Parveen? Whatever. Neither meat nor dairy. Sounds way more scientifically
It is meat. By definition of meat, it is meat.
described than I would have imagined. So to sum it up, it looks like this lizard can eat fish apparently due to...
Yes. Yes, it can eat fish. That's fine. That's fine. But people have problem with the design and how it acts.
being amphibious because, well, he's marine, which of
Well, no shit. The original Godzilla was amphibious.
course comes from the ocean, apparently. And it does make sense that they lure him in with fish anyway. I mean, honestly, when was the last time you ever saw bugs at the bottom of the ocean?
Oh my fucking god. This straw... Okay, yes, I have seen people say, well, if it's a marine iguana, why is he eating fish? Yeah, I agree. It's kind of a dumb argument. You can chalk it up to his mutation. Fine, whatever. But but go over some of the major criticisms first, okay?
Since his diet would mainly consist of sea life, he's off the hook on this one. So as soon as he takes the bait, they open fire. Way to act on instinct. You'd think this is when Godzilla would fight back, but nope,
Yes.
he flees. Till right here where he turns around. Then, another claim the critic made was how unrealistic it is for a lizard to be breathing fire.
Okay, why are you responding to just solely the Nostalgia Critic? If you're using the Nostalgia Critic review as kind of a basis, that'd be fine. But why aren't you addressing the criticism? I mean, I think he does, but who fucking... It's Godzilla. he shoots beams of atomic energy out of his mouth. Yeah, that's what he does. This isn't that, though. He just belches on cars and they explode.
But dear critic here misses the point. That's what Godzilla's meant to do! It's one of his trademark abilities as well! Unfortunately, he doesn't though, as what AVGN says. It's more of a deathly, gassy hurricane breath. Must be from all that fish. Better let it all out, big guy.
Yeah, so you acknowledge his fucking name.
The attack also ignites any gasoline substance which causes them to...
No. No, those cars were on fire. So it kind of appears that it kind of belches some flammable gas. He, like, belches flammable gases and they catch on fire, I guess.
explode. It's a cool attack, but it replaces Godzilla's fire breath, which was a big disappointment to fans.
It's not fire, it's concentrated radiation.
Then Zilla takes off again, and we get some helicopter chase scenes.
Yeah, why aren't they flying over the fucking buildings? Why are they all just following single file? Why aren't they sending more than 3 helicopters after it? Why are they not trying to act intelligent in any way when they chase it?
Once again, the Rant Man complains about how many rip-off flying scenes there are. Oh, come on, really? They're used all the time!
Who fucking cares if they're used? This is whataboutism. This is fucking whataboutism. Why are you just...
I love chase scenes.
Who gives a shit if you like chase scenes? This one's fucking stupid. It's constructed. It's based on stupidity.
Especially helicopters chasing a giant lizard who's always evading their attacks even though he's a big target.
Yeah, it's kind of fucking retarded now when you think about it, isn't it?
Which is yet another claim he makes that also differs from Godzilla. Why he's so hard to hit is because he keeps moving.
Yeah, actually, well, that, and they just follow him in a straight line. They don't move upwards to get a better view over the buildings and then box him in and rain missiles down on him. They don't fire from above. They just chase him in a straight line. What fucking sense does that even make? Why would you it makes no sense strategy-wise. Why the fuck would you do that? And we see later, and I believe also earlier, that they can fly over the buildings too. So it's just fucking stupid.
Due to his size, he's more agile and faster, which makes him easier to dodge enemy bullets and missiles.
No. Unless they can enter Matrix bullet time.
Even when he's ducking. On the other hand, Godzilla doesn't have to, since he just takes it all the time when he fights the military.
Yeah, it's almost like it's supposed to be motherfucking themes. That Godzilla is the embodiment of the nuclear bomb, and is objectively a more powerful weapon than the rest of the military shit. Like the problem isn't that he's. The biggest problem is that the military is fucking incompetent. Like they are absolutely incompetent in the 98 movie.
So why does this one keep running away then?
Yeah, why is a creature called Godzilla running away from the military?
Well, it isn't running as much as he lures them into traps where they...
Yeah, and it's fucking retarded. Like, this is the problem, is that the monster is only smarter than the humans by virtue of the humans having... by the humans sharing one brain cell between them. They injected liquid paint into their frontal cortex.
Least expected.
I think we got him.
Okay, so let me get this straight. In this scene, so the screaming of him, like, being injured, comes from in front of them, and then he just magically teleports to the back of them. Wonderful, excellent writing.
Like cat and mouse.
No, it's not like it's like cat and mouse, but if the mouse had a lobotomy.
Nice sneak attacks.
It's not nice.
His roar is awesome, by the way. At least that's the one thing they kept. It really...
Okay, yeah, his roar at least somewhat resembles the original roar. The roar is fine, yes.
Wouldn't be Godzilla without it. To me, it actually sounds better because of its impact, in addition to his other inventive
I guess.
roars, unlike Godzilla's restocked roars.
Oh, okay. So they take a classic sound and they repurpose it. It's almost as if the sound is iconic and synonymous with the character. Dumbass. Oops. What's wrong with that? All of those are perfectly fine. Just, it makes no fuck. Just makes no fucking sense.
In comparison, Zilla's roar is much more enhanced. And then, he again goes into hiding without any trace. I mean,
Yeah,
he
it
gets
makes
so
no
good at
sense.
slipping away so fast where it seems people could not see where he went. And
Yeah.
yet it makes me wonder, why the hell Mr. Critic still hasn't learned yet that he's a fucking borrower? Why don't
And why haven't you learned yet that a monster of that size burrowing underground would cause massive seismic disturbances? And it's Manhattan. It's the most densely populated city in New York. Like, what part of that do you not understand? That'd be causing some major seismic activity. This is like, if you want, in GMK, I don't know. I believe Baragon in that film, I don't know if he's bigger or smaller than Zilla, but if we're going to do this whataboutism bullshit, like, they were able to track Baragon in GMK because they actually tracked the seismic activity. It makes no goddamn sense why this densely populated city, they would suspect no seismic activity from this burrowing creature just ripping up the subway systems. Yet when he walks casually, they can feel his footsteps. Makes no fucking sense.
you wake up for a change, you fucking rant hard! And whoever says you can't have a sense of humor once in a while doesn't know how to stay positive in real life either. I'll bet he could have as much to criticize while at the same time think about all other important stuff on this film. So
What? Okay, I guess.
please continue to rant as I think about that gigantic
It's a fucking character, and I know you're trying to do a bit too, but you're fucking failing at it.
theory of ridiculous sociopath. Dick. So, by this time, you think that was all the differences between both monsters with the same name, being two different species, born in two different islands, and created by two different countries.
It depends on the iteration of Godzilla, but sure.
But both of them have separate roles. Godzilla is meant to bring world chaos, which we've seen over 20 dozen times, right?
Yeah, pretty much. You're correct in that. Well, except for like the later Showa era, where it became some kind of weird superhero Gamera thing. But that's the primary focus. You're correct.
Zilla, on the other hand, has his own mission to reproduce his offspring.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of stupid.
Yes, apparently he can lay eggs without mating, which is
Yeah. Yeah.
called asexual reproduction.
No shit.
Where's the fun in that?
Ridiculous and weird as it sounds to you, it is true, okay? It is possible for lizards to reproduce without mating, and it
Yeah. Yeah, except if I recall correctly, it's never been documented in iguanas. Whiptail lizards do it because I believe they're only females. Komodo dragons have been able to do it, and if some species of snakes have been able to do it, but it's very rare in Komodo dragons. And monitor lizards are varanids, and they aren't part of the same group as iguanids. If there have been cases of iguanids reproducing asexually, go ahead and type in the comments below, but I don't recall that at all.
actually does make sense when you think about it.
No, it doesn't.
Otherwise, tell me this. Who was Godzilla Jr.'s mother?
Well, well, in both instances, it was just a random egg that Godzilla found.
I mean, Toho never explained how Godzilla Jr. or Minya was born.
Well, not how the egg itself came to be, but the egg was found by Godzilla. And who fucking cares? This is whataboutism again. Like, it does. I mean, it doesn't even fucking matter how the egg came about. They actually, it was just the egg that Godzilla found and decided to raise the thing as his own because it was his own species.
Hey, guess what, son? You're adopted!
Yeah.
Harsh reality.
A lot of fans were outraged by this whole thing, but I find it dramatically convenient for 3 reasons. 1, it's got an explanation, unlike how Minya was born.
Minya's explanation was he was in an egg, and I believe he was it was an egg. Like something laid the egg, part of Godzilla's species laid the egg and it was dormant for fuck knows how long. But it's pretty self-explanatory. Something laid the egg. It remained dormant for millions of years. Godzilla found it and it hatched. You're fucking wrong.
2, their blood
Also just because something has an explanation doesn't mean that explanation is good.
related. And 3, it gives the movie a reason to have a sequel.
Okay.
Horrible sequels.
Not really, but
We'll get to that later.
you'll see later on. So the plot of the movie is simple: to destroy Godzilla and his army of offspring. They set it into motion by luring Zilla out into enemy fire once again.
Yeah, and they can't aim worth shit.
Even better, we get some underwater action here. We
Yeah, and again, the submarines can't aim worth shit.
didn't get much submarine scenes since Red October. And 2 years later, we get U-571, which was another awesome submarine movie.
Gives a shit.
So, as the torpedoes hone in on him, they take him down.
Yeah, he gets knocked out underwater, and it hasn't been established in this movie that he can breathe underwater, unlike in, the older Godzilla films before this. So he should have drowned and died.
Then at the Madison Square Garden is where they find the eggs which hatch into baby Zillas.
Yeah, baby velociraptors.
Actually, their heads are bigger than the raptors, but they are all identical to the child bear, so that distinguishes them from being a ripoff of one of Spielberg's best designs.
They're still a ripoff, though. That's the thing. They're still a ripoff. There are several scenes in the film that rip off Jurassic Park, especially the raptor scenes and the T-Rex scene, but especially the raptor scenes.
As for the other scenes, there are some minor differences. There were only 2 raptors, where here we had a whole breed of the offspring. Just multiply them. They're kinda cute, actually.
No,
Aww, they're just hungry.
Yeah, they're hungry for your flesh, and oh god, that CGI has aged horribly.
Let them feast on a couple of your other men. I especially love this part where this Frenchy hero just surrenders himself to his dinner. That's what you get for being ordinary people! Dork.
Hold on, let's go back.
Surrenders himself to his dinner. That's what you get for being ordinary people!
Like this one right here, it's doing the fucking raptor noise and call. It's doing that raptor noise call thing in Jurassic Park.
Dork. Yeah, so the shadow scenes, the jump attacks, them opening the doors, well actually they just barge through the doors without the handles, and obnoxious acting still? Yeah, it's funny, because I'm actually thinking of someone else at the moment right now.
Why didn't you just call this a response to the Nostalgia Critics video? Why? I guess you tried it because it's called the counter review, but fucking hell.
Once they get out before the military blows up the building, Godzilla resurrects himself.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes no fucking sense. He should have drowned. Should have drowned and died. Maybe should have been over, but he just miraculously survived. Oh, and there was nobody felt anything when this giant fucking monster was burrowing underground. Again.
Thought you got rid of him that easily with only 2 torpedoes? Godzilla's...
Yeah, except they knocked him out underwater. He should have drowned. Dumbass.
Indestructible.
Godzilla's not indestructible. He's fucking tough as hell, but he's not indestructible. The original Godzilla, anyways. He's not indestructible. But yeah, like, especially considering what we know from later on in the movie, that this Godzilla gets killed by missiles, he should have died underwater. Because it was never established he could breathe underwater, unlike in the older Godzilla films, so he should be dead.
Or so we thought. So here we have more fun chasing action.
It's actually kind of stupid because you have this monster that can outrun military helicopters, which I believe can go like around 180 miles per hour, and yet it can't even keep up with it can barely keep up with this taxi cab. It's fucking stupid.
If it were 3D, it'd probably feel like a motion simulator ride. There's
I would hate to see this in 3D personally. I think it'd be fucking stupid.
no end to their crazy driving. This is actually the only time Zilla gets angry like Godzilla and has a better time to use the title like Godzilla's Revenge.
You know what? You're not wrong.
Man, the critic really made fun of that fish line. How would he like it if I made fun of his introductory line? Hello, I'm the rhetorical hater. I bash bad films to unscrew your tantrums. And
Well, yeah, this is very petty. This is just very petty.
I like fish to choke on a daily basis. Here's where he breathes fire again, but as you already know, it's his halitosis breath.
Yeah, it's kind of stupid.
Actually, if you recall the first time he used it, he aimed it at a bunch of cars when the military was chasing him, causing them to explode as they ride right into the wave of fire he created. Okay, that can't be a coincidence, because Zilla's fucking smart.
He's smart by virtue of everybody being dumber than he is.
Smart enough not
like every human in this, and pretty much like 90% of the humans in this movie are written to be as dumb as possible.
to fall for the fish trap twice after being lured out again. He was also smart enough to know who was responsible for killing his offspring too.
I mean, yeah. Okay, and?
He does have trouble catching the car, which is weird given the fact that they said he could run 200 miles per hour.
Yeah, that is fucking weird, right? That's incredibly weird.
Although I guess that situation is similar to a person chasing a chicken, apparently.
No, it's not.
But also is because his mouth is too big. It'd be like trying to catch a tiny cactus thorn on your skin with your teeth.
Except if now you didn't show. I don't know if you show this. I can't remember if you show this later on in the film, but earlier in the film, he was able to catch a moving helicopter relatively easily by waiting underneath it. Now, granted, the person didn't fucking see this ginormous monstrosity beneath him because he's fucking stupid, but he jumped up and he got that motherfucker and he bit into it.
And believe me, it's pretty hard. I would also like to note that he seemed to know his way around the city very well, even.
Okay, sure, I guess. But that doesn't demonstrate intelligence. I mean, animals in general can pretty much map out when and where things are. Plus, he's chasing the car. He could probably hear it or smell it or whatever. That doesn't really demonstrate how smart he is.
Better than the people did, and in 2 or 3 days when he was there.
Okay.
Like right here at this scene. After chasing them through the city, he waits for them underneath the bridge where he came up to surprise them as they dove right into his mouth.
Yeah, and the fact that he's not able to fucking crush all of them is moronic, considering he is capable of crushing helicopters, which military helicopters, I should say, which I'd imagine are probably tougher than a fucking taxi cab, whatever the fuck's in his mouth.
Pretty insane. Now this is where plot-induced stupidity takes over, as he was unable to swallow them, so they electrocute him with a wire before they...
Yeah, for example, like, okay, so, what, I'll let that slide. I mean, I think it's stupid, but I'll let it slide. It's really dumb how he wasn't able to crush all of them when he got them in their fucking mouth, and how that car is even still able to function. Yeah, I know he has other debris in his mouth, but he should have crushed that easily as well. Look at how fucking... If you want to get realistic here, so let's get fucking realistic. The amount of jaw pressure this thing could exert would be fucking insane. Like, all the shit that was in his mouth would have been turned into nothing.
Gun it, as this makes him even angrier. He was smart enough to jump over the first arc before running.
Yeah. Yeah, because, most animals will see an obstacle in their way and jump it. My cat will see something that she can't go around, and she'll jump over it. That's not a show of hyper intelligence. Okay?
Right into the second one and getting caught in the suspension cables until he gets killed by the military.
Yeah, it's fucking stupid.
Finally got the fucking cab! Now this scene is what confused a lot of viewers. They don't know if they're supposed to feel sorry for it because after his last heartbeat, everybody cheers. In a way, I did feel sorry for him despite what we had to do.
Yeah, you are supposed to kind of feel sorry for him in a sense, but it's like he's kind of a nothing monster in the sense of his design is okay. Actually, let me take back. If the movie was better, I think people would have felt sorry for the monster, but it's not. It's fucking garbage.
Listening to that heartbeat was so hard to endure as a kid. I couldn't take it, so I didn't.
Okay, that's fine for you, but you have yet to explain why. You still have yet to explain why this movie has been misjudged.
Asked for the movie for my birthday, but I never hated it either. Whatever you're supposed to feel at that point is up to you.
No, you're very clearly supposed to feel some sadness for the monster. Very clearly. The movie does a terrible job at that too, because you called it Godzilla, and people wanted to see Godzilla, and they got this piece of shit instead.
But the real reason why this movie is hated so much, knowing that Godzilla never dies at all by the military, is that
that's a lie, but okay.
He actually dies by the military.
Godzilla has died by the military before. In the first film, he gets killed. Well, I guess maybe not by the military. I guess you could say he dies by the military in terms of they get Serizawa to use his weapon. They were on military ships when they went out there, if I recall correctly.
So here's your chance to ask.
I mean, like, even in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, Godzilla technically dies through Mechagodzilla, and he's only saved because Rodan gave him his life force. So, military has technically killed him before in the past.
Ask. Why, Roland? Why? What were you thinking? Arguing about this is very difficult because it makes you wonder if he even knew what Godzilla is.
He made it very clear he didn't care, so...
A walking god on Earth who absorbs missile explosions as though they were mere bites from horseflies and not a stripped-down reptilian version that was vexed by a taxi cab and done in by 12 conventional missiles.
Yeah, it's almost as if this movie misses the fucking point of Godzilla.
Wow, if that really killed him, imagine him going up against the original, which he did and got his ass handed to him easily head on.
Yeah, and it was fucking glorious.
Bam! That would sum up what Zilla is capable of. But in a fair fight, that's a bit of a stretch if you ask me.
No.
I mean, we're aware of Godzilla's immeasurable destructive powers, but if up against his counterpart with this kind of stealth prowess, then let me ask a rhetorical question.
Actually, he's fought enemies that are much faster and much smarter than not Godzilla here. Megaguirus, for example, there's Megaguirus. He fought against Rodan. Ghidorah has, I guess maybe not Ghidorah, but he's fought especially Megaguirus. Megaguirus was wicked fast. I mean, glass cannon, but much faster, much stronger. And Godzilla in that fight had to actually use his head. If you watch that fight carefully, you go, okay, Godzilla can't overpower this enemy, so he has to use his head. It was actually a much better way of conveying Godzilla's intelligence when it comes to a fight.
What constitutes a fair fight?
It depends. If we're talking about If we're talking about a regulated fight, well, it depends on the rules. But if we're talking about no rules, then there is no such thing as a fair fight.
In an unlikely match between, for example, the Terminator taking on RoboCop, or Bruce Lee versus Rocky Balboa, how about Bugs Bunny and Jerry in a contest of who can outsmart each other? Or what about the Imperial Star Destroyer against the USS Enterprise?
Well, again, there is no such thing as a fair. I mean, if we're talking about like a knockout drag-out brawl, I guess it depends on the rules that you set. Which versions? Which versions? If you're with the Terminator, if you're excluding any external Terminator and RoboCop, if you're excluding any external material and just looking at the films, then you would use the films and the other related media, or if you're using just the films, or if you're using other media like comics or that kind of Tismy RoboCop TV show, or if you're using this and you decide to use the Superstar Destroyer from Tross, well, I mean the Enterprise is fucked. I would say the Enterprise is kind of fucked against a normal Star Destroyer since its main purpose is for war. But and it's fuck ton bigger, but like depends on what kind of rules you set. But if you set no rules for the actual fight itself, well, then there is no such thing as a fair fight.
Is that a no contest answer? Maybe, but comparing their skills, styles, and abilities, it's what makes the fight very interesting. When comparing both of these monsters, it'd be like comparing a heavy damaging broadsword to a light and swift katana.
No, it'd be like comparing a broadsword to a butter knife. Like that's what it's be like comparing to. Like, don't go dissing the fucking katana. Also, like Shadiversity has done some good videos about katanas versus European, like Japanese versus European swords, specifically the katana and the longsword or broadsword or whatever. But like, don't go dissing the broadsword. Broadsword is very good weapon. And like no, but again, like it's like actually no, I'll take it back. It's like putting a claymore against uh, a butter knife, or actually no. I take that back. It's like putting Zangetsu against a butter knife. That's what it's actually like.
Godzilla's the kind of monster who wades casually across Tokyo Bay and obliterates anything in its wake, like
His endurance is fucking insane.
a nonchalant killer in a horror movie, while Zilla is the kind who sneaks up on his enemies stealthily like an assassin.
No. I mean, well, okay. I get you're right in the sense of he's very sneaky, but he'd still lose because he couldn't harm Godzilla. That's the point. Doesn't matter how fast or stealthy you are, if you can't damage your opponent, well, you're fucked. He could barely damage him. And again, if we look at Godzilla's fight with Megaguirus, Godzilla can fight immensely quick, stealthy enemies. Like Megaguirus can flap his wings her wings so fast that he can't even hear him. He outsmarted her several times in that fight. So, and Megaguirus would destroy Zilla. So Godzilla destroys Zilla. And plus, this entire thing is fucking pointless. Why are you? You're not defending the film here. You're not defending the fucking quality of the film. You're just going over a versus debate.
Or a secret agent. And I can't help but feel this is the kind of style that reminds me of the fighting tactics used in the Vietnam War. The Viet Cong used this kind of...
What? Okay, we'll see how this fucking ties together.
Style of hit-and-run tactics. After Zilla's initial attack, he hides out until Manhattan is evacuated, then evades detection in the island's labyrinth of skyscrapers and its cavernous sewers and subway
And I've explained why this is fucking stupid.
Tunnels. Roland probably knew that to reinvent Godzilla, he would need to look at the way the original series has come to be interpreted.
To be interpreted, no. That was the intent from day fucking one. From day fucking one. Like, oh, we need to reinvent. Why do we need to reinvent? I understand trying to make it its own unique identity. The Godzilla films have done that in the past. The Heisei era, the Millennium era, the Showa era. Shin Godzilla reinvented itself, but it was very much Godzilla. 2014, love it or hate it, it was sort of it was still Godzilla, despite it, being being American. Let's just say that. The problem is, well, why do we need to completely reinvent the franchise? What is the point, other than to alienate your core audience?
Known all this time that Godzilla personifies Japan's nuclear age anxiety, which comes directly from the attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki at the end.
I mean, yeah, that's true, and I kind of agree that sort of thing is a bit outdated, especially by 1998. But the franchise had already reinvented itself with the Heisei era. Like if you look a lot of the themes or in the creation of the monsters in the Heisei era was very much reflective of those times. Something tells me, like you're just going over his initial creation and concept in 1954. You're not looking at how the creature, how he evolved over the years.
Of World War II. Since we were the ones responsible, it's easy to wonder whether an American spin-off of the 1954 film would insult the Japanese, who might
No, insult the Jap. What do you mean by insult the Japanese? I think I mean, what do you mean by that? Like, again, like before this film came out, the Heisei era was very much about humanity's effect on the environment. That was very much what it was about, humanity's effect on the environment. That's what it was. That's what the Heisei era, a lot of the themes, a lot of the films were. I know I'm using fucking themes and whatnot, but that it was very. It wasn't about necessarily the 1950s nuclear anxiety.
see it as a way of cleansing the impurity, so to speak.
No.
As a response to this, Roland came up with a simplistic analogy.
No. You're now you're just delving into what you think Roland Emmerich did as opposed to what he actually did. He has gone on record saying that he did not care. He actually had to be pressured into directing the film because TriStar are fucking retard because TriStar and Sony are retards. Like they wanted to get Jan de Bont, the speed director, to do it, and they turned down. This was in '94. Like they turned down the whole Godzilla versus the Griffin idea because it cost too much, and the technology wasn't good at the time, which was fine. And then by the time 1998 came around, they gave Roland Emmerich an equivalent budget to the '94 idea. It's like I hate it when people do this. Like they, instead of like you're trying to find references, like if Roland Emmerich actually said this, like show interview clips, show quotes, give me your references, don't give me what you believe he did.
Gojira is to the Japanese defeat in World War II, his Godzilla is to the Americans' defeat in the Vietnam War.
You're fucking wrong. No, it's not. No, it's not. Show me references. Show me, like, are you going to link to any interviews? Or are you going to link to any quotes to Roland Emmerich saying this? I don't think you do. From what I remember, I don't think he does. This is just what you've concocted in your head, and that is perfect. And that's fine. If this is how you interpret it, that's fine. But you're trying to defend the film's quality. Give me references.
This analogy would make much more sense than the atom bomb. Zilla is like the Vietnam.
No. I mean, how would it make more sense? The Vietnam War ended in the late 60s, early 70s, so it was a good like 30s odd. It was. How would that make more sense? The U.S. was far removed from the Vietnam War after this. Like, no, it doesn't make any sense. Like, if it were made in the 70s, then 70s or hell even 80s, sure. But this was the 90s. This was the late 90s. This was 98. Like, the whole, like, no, it doesn't.
Vietnamese military, less powerful than the Americans, but smarter with stealth tactics. Films like The Green Berets, Full Metal Jacket, and even Rambo were in relation to the Vietnam War using...
Yeah, but Rambo First Blood was made in what, 1980? And it was based off of a book written in the 70s. Full Metal Jacket, I don't know what year that, I can't remember what year that came out, but it actually took place during the Vietnam War, and I haven't seen the third one. But again, provide reference. Like, if this is all your own personal interpretation, that's perfectly fine. But that's not a reason why the film is good.
Stealth tactics. As they used subterfuge and sneakiness to accomplish their goals, the French did something similar. By covering up the mess they made during the Polynesian tests, they used secret agents instead of cooperating with the foreign government.
You got a problem talking?
Well, no, sir, I'm fine.
It's all about stealth. Even...
Okay. Well, actually, the one reason why they decided to do that is because that would cause a huge global uproar, right? That the French government was responsible for the creation of this giant monster. That would be a huge global uproar. So I would imagine that the French are trying to cover it up so there's not a huge uproar about it.
Universal Films use these tactics too that Zilla has taken after, besides the raptors from Jurassic Park. The way Zilla acts in this film is very similar to the salivating critters from Aliens 2.
No. And it's not Aliens 2, it's Aliens. You know, the first one's called Alien, singular. This one's called Aliens, plural. And that one I actually will give you that for, because that was made in 86. It was a lot closer to the Vietnam War than fucking Godzilla 98. I will at least somewhat grant you that. Fucking goddamn, this video's shit.
They snuff out a horde of Marines by striking...
But here's the thing. Why are we talking about Aliens and not talking about Godzilla 98? I hate it when people do this. They don't talk about the film they're trying to defend. They don't give references. They do a whataboutism. They talk about how they feel rather than what's actually there. They give their own interpretations, but they don't actually give either don't give references or they give poor references. They have to talk about other films to defend the film that they're defending. Like, instead of giving a reference, instead of having the references to other films be examples of either it being done better or maybe having something similar happen, it's just talk about Godzilla 98. Why are we talking about Aliens?
And withdrawing, coming down from above, stalking, reorganizing, interpreting landscapes to best advantage, planning and waiting. In short, by not fighting fair, but to their own advantage. It's a game you gotta play dirty to win. Zilla's agile abilities resemble the monster's tactics in the Alien and Jurassic Park series more than...
No. Okay. Let's, for the benefit of the doubt, we'll say all this is correct. Why does that make it good? Why does that make it good? Why should that matter? Does that add? Does that make the characters, the human characters, any less stupid? Does that make the plot any less contrived? No. No, it doesn't. Does it make the monster any less lame? Okay, I guess it makes the monster slightly less lame, but does it make it any more Godzilla? No. This is fucking pointless. This is one massive non sequitur.
The Toho movies. And in no way is that a bad thing. Things are always borrowed.
Why? It doesn't matter though. The movie's still shit regardless. Even if you're right, it doesn't make the characters any less stupid. It doesn't make the plot any less stupid. It doesn't make not Godzilla any more Godzilla. This is just one giant non sequitur.
Or inspired from other movies that remind us of an earlier film that we love. There's no reason.
That was very much a direct. So he did show that scene of him jumping up and catching the helicopter. Okay.
To hate the American Godzilla for being different because he had something Godzilla didn't.
There's being different, and then there's being unrecognizable as the thing you're adapting, you numbnuts. Okay? There's being different, like 2014 was different. There's being different, like the Heisei era, in terms of tone, was very different in terms of tone than the Showa era. In terms of a lot of the, it handled more, it was more or less the monsters being created through man's entamperment with the environment rather than nuclear testing. That was different. Shin Godzilla was very different because it focused more on the ineffectiveness of Japanese politics. There are times where Godzilla movies can be different but still be Godzilla. This is unrecognizable as Godzilla. That's the point.
Originality.
It's not original. It's not original at all. It constantly rips off Jurassic Park. This scene right here is a ripoff of Alien with the egg scene. I'll even say Emmerich kind of rips off some of his own work. It's not original at all.
Besides the egg laying, like we know that Gojira is a mixture of the Japanese word for whale and the English word gorilla.
How is that relevant?
In his translation, Roland retains some of the earlier creature's simian characteristics, but his beast is more of a pure amphibian, where Gojira
No. What?
the dog paddles gracelessly on his unstoppable advancement toward Tokyo.
No. No, Godzilla lives in the water. Like in the Heisei era, he lives underwater. Like the reason why they lose him in the Heisei era and in other films is because he lives in the fucking ocean, the deepest parts of it. And yes, and we see in the Millennium era, now granted, we see in the Millennium era, he does swim like this. And what relevance does this have to the film's quality? You're trying to give me reasons why is it okay for this monster to look nothing like Godzilla? You are just giving reasons why this monster may not suck. You're not giving me reasons why this is okay for it not to be Godzilla.
Roland's Godzilla is an athletic swimmer who gracefully outmaneuvers torpedoes and tricks a pair
Okay, that's fucking stupid.
of submarines into destroying each other.
Yeah, because humans in this movie are retarded.
Now that's what I call clever.
No. Is it clever to outsmart an ant? Are you clever for outsmarting an ant or a dog or a cat? No, you're not clever because you're outsmarting an animal with lesser intellect. The humans in this film are stupid. You're outsmarting stupid people. That's not clever. That's just a natural result of trying. That's just the natural result.
Zilla seemed to be one step ahead of us humans throughout most of the movie and showed.
No, no, he wasn't one step ahead. He wasn't one step ahead. We were like 50 quadrillion steps back because everyone is a retard in this movie.
That he possessed a great deal of intelligence in the film, even outsmarting the military to an embarrassing degree. Not enough credit is given to his intelligence and cunning until his anger blinded him, which probably.
No. Okay, for the last time, I'll stop saying this. This is the last time I say it. The reason why people don't give credit to his cunning and intelligence is because everyone else is stupid. Everyone else is idiotic in this movie. Everyone else is stupid. He's not intelligent. Everyone is just dumb. Like, everyone is so fucking stupid in this movie. They make dumb decisions. You know, the military makes dumb decisions. They just follow him in a straight line through the buildings. They send only 3 helicopters. They don't send like a bunch to scan over the area out of the monster's reach to try and find him. And then when they find him, they don't like fire downwards. It's so dumb.
Interacted with his intelligence and made him slightly easier to kill. It happens to the best of us, even if they were tricked. But regardless.
I mean, yeah, Godzilla was tricked in that film because they establish, if I'm remembering correctly, they established that Godzilla used the birds as a way to as kind of like a navigation. So they used that against him. That was actually clever.
Zilla was meant to die in the first movie, just like Godzilla in 1954 with the Oxygen Destroyer. The way they
the Oxygen Destroyer, because the Oxygen Destroyer was a weapon more powerful than the atomic bomb. That's why it worked.
died doesn't matter because it's the first movie of its kind.
What kind of bass backwards? What kind of bass backwards logic? This is not the first movie of its kind. How is this the first movie of its kind? It's not. It's just it. The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms came out in 1953. King Kong came out in 1933. This is not the first movie of its fucking kind. The original Godzilla came out in 1954.
It would also explain why Zilla had no opponent to fight. It wasn't just because of the budget, but mainly because it was his debut. Ever thought?
You can, again, 2014, you can have a monster debut and still have the monster fight something. It's not necessary. It would have been, it would have been something. It would have been something in this piece of shit. It would have been something.
Thought of that? It's just like the 19...
Irrelevant. It's fucking irrelevant. Stop saying it's just like in 1954. It's nothing like the 1954 film. 1954 film is infinitely better. Stop.
54 and the 85 film where he went solo before a
Who cares? How does that make this movie good?
sequel was made where a new and stronger Godzilla was born.
What point? Why? Why does that matter? How does that make the film good?
And by the way, here's your sequel.
Yeah, and I find it kind of dumb that one singular egg survived that entire building being fucking blown up. I also find it kind of dumb that they made it clear that all the eggs were hatching at once, but whatever.
Yeah, the birth of Zilla.
I will say, this series is a lot more faithful to Godzilla than the movie. The series is not. It's a decent series. They even had their own Destroy All Monsters multi-parter, which was okay, and they had Cyberzilla, which was its own cool, unique take on Mechagodzilla. So this show is pretty decent.
Jr. in his own show, Godzilla the Series. Before the show was happening, the sequel was going to be another film featuring Zilla's offspring, but it was canned due to the film's high negative ratings and was replaced by an animated series where Zilla Jr. is a revved up powerhouse fighting machine. It's an awesome cartoon series and I urge you to check it out. It's got plenty action and filled with adventure. The movie was rated 25% on Rotten Tomatoes, but to my eyes, this movie is beyond unique in its own kind.
You want to know what else is unique? If I came on and I filmed myself taking a steaming shit on my cat. I'm sure that's unique to the content on this channel. I'm sure most of you probably haven't seen that before. That doesn't make it fucking good.
Dean and Roland both wanted to make their own Godzilla.
Yeah, which is dumb. They actually no, I'll take that back. They didn't even make their own Godzilla. They made their own monster, which is stupid because this is called Godzilla.
Since the day Toho gave the rights to TriStar and took a different turn on the formula by reinventing the character, it wasn't what the audiences wanted. I'm sure everyone would agree had the title been changed to either Giant Lizard Attack or Beast of 20,000 Fathoms, or just simply Zilla. It would have been much more appreciated.
A little bit. Because people wouldn't be so pissed that it would still be a shit movie. It'd still be awful. But it wouldn't piss people off because it wouldn't be called Godzilla. It would just fade into obscurity. It would fade into obscurity. It would just blend in with all the other movies at the time. All of those other movies at the time would just blend into Roland Emmerich's work. It would just be another bad movie. But they called it Godzilla, and it's when they and they kind of shat on the franchise.
The title could have been renamed anything else, but I for one am glad that it's called Godzilla for its
Wow, you must really hate the franchise then.
Design, reinvention, originality, and relation to the franchise.
Well, A, it's not original, I've already explained that. B, the reinvention was fucking stupid, and and how it relates to and it damages the franchise by it being actually, and it damages the franchise because you alienated so many people from the franchise. This was a way to introduce people in the U.S. to Godzilla, and you fucked it up. You fucked it up.
Patrick Tatopoulos' design was top-notch.
I guess.
To me, he bears a slight resemblance, but more of a realistic look that makes him walk like a T-Rex.
If he was a lizard, he wouldn't be walking like a theropod. Whatever. But why does he look why does he look why does he need why can't he look like Godzilla though?
That was Roland's intention when he made this movie during the time when dinosaurs were famous.
Yeah, when dinosaurs were famous. He was piggybacking off of a trend. He was copying a trend. He was being unoriginal.
Even though he wasn't a fan of the old films, he at least...
Yeah, he didn't like the old films. It's almost as if giving someone who doesn't like the franchise the reins to said franchise is really stupid. Or at the very least, you as a director, even if you don't like it, try and make it the best adaptation and movie you can.
got the gist of it, but wanted to make it less corny and traditional.
Less corny and well, he fucking failed. He fucking failed in that aspect because this movie is fucking corny as fuck. It is.
Because what have we gotten in over 20 films of Godzilla before this one?
Well, we got quite a few decently entertaining monster movies, and some that are absolutely fantastic. Sure you got some shit in there too, but that's just kind of the law of averages.
Same shit.
Same shit. And Godzilla 98 is the same shit that was out at the time. At that time in American cinema, Godzilla 98 was the same shit. You can't say that. It's so fucking dumb. Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah has a tism-filled plot, but it is infinitely better. Godzilla vs. Biollante is much better. What do you mean by same? What, Godzilla fights another monster? Well, Godzilla vs. Biollante and Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah are entirely different plots. They're entirely different plots. If you're saying they're the same thing because they're fighting different monsters, you're fucking they both fight monsters and you're fucking wrong.
Same awesome shit, but same old shit.
No, it's not. Just because he fights monsters doesn't mean it's the same shit. You have to look at the fucking plot. You have to look at how they differ. Godzilla vs. Biollante and Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah and Godzilla Raids Again are all very different movies.
And it can get repetitive.
Yeah, just like seeing a fucking generic ass disaster movie from Roland Emmerich, not Roland Emmerich.
This was a brand new retelling of the Godzilla films with brand new story elements, and it's been hated for many years.
Yeah, because it's unrecognizable as Godzilla, and everything you've listed off has been executed horrendously. What? Ugh.
People didn't want different, and they just couldn't stand how they made him as realistic as possible.
They didn't. Oh fuck you. No, they didn't make him as realistic as possible at all. Nothing about this monster was realistic. I've listed off. The burrowing. Went into detail about that. The fact that he teleports around the city. The fact that the fact that he just vanishes. He vanishes and remains undetected. The fact that he gets knocked out underwater and does not drown. And he just magically pops up when the plot needs him for the climax, or for the latter portion of the climax, I should say. He is not realistic in the slightest, at all. Like he has no realism at all, at all. Like the 2014 Godzilla was more realistic than this. in terms of how Godzilla was as a monster. Like, so it's.
By that, they didn't like that he lays eggs and that he's an iguana.
No, no, that's a fucking straw man. I'm sure. I mean, okay, maybe not entirely a straw man. Yeah, there are people who are like, oh, why is he like? People would have been more accepting of those things, however, if he looked and acted like Godzilla. If he was an iguana, but he mutated to look like Godzilla, if he laid eggs, but he looked like Godzilla and he acted like Godzilla, people would have said, I'm not a fan of it, but it's nothing atrocious. That's fucking stupid.
But who says he can't be one?
No one. Who is saying this? Give some references. I mean, give references. Give screenshots. No one is saying he can't be a fucking. No one's saying he can't be a fucking iguana or lay eggs. We just wanted him to look and act like Godzilla. You fucking idiot.
Who says he can't lay eggs when that's what reptiles do?
No one is saying that. They just wanted Godzilla to be Godzilla. You fucking dumbass.
Who says Godzilla isn't a reptilian animal, which in retrospect, he actually is?
No one is arguing against that, you numbnut. Oh my god.
Even the title is practically clear to us. Remember when we used to say the term Bridezilla? A terrifying bride with an outrageously giant ego? Now what do you think Godzilla actually stands for?
It's the name of a beloved monster, a beloved character that has a design and its own set of characteristics specific to it. And this iteration is not it.
How about giant terrifying fucking lizard? Hell,
that's not the point. That's not. Okay, I know. I'm not going to reiterate this. I've repeated this so many fucking times. This argument is trash.
hello? I mean, look at the wagging tail for fuck's sake. Does nobody pay attention to the realism here and what the creators actually create?
And what they created was fucking garbage. They executed it horribly. I don't give a shit what a creator is trying to do. I care about if they execute what they're trying to. Okay, well, let me reiterate that. I do care what. There are times where I care what they're trying to do. But the most important thing is if they execute it well. Emmerich and Devlin executed it horrendously.
I mean, sure, he's depicted as a sea dragon, but Godzilla is also theorized as a hybrid of land and sea reptiles living in ocean trenches.
Who fucking cares? You've spent God knows how long with this, and just you're not with this by saying it's new, it's unique. I applaud it for being different. It broke new ground. Please tell me. You're not providing your reference. Tell me why this is a good change other than it's new and different. Because that's not a good reason why.
Yamane backs up his theory with evidence that date back to the Jurassic period after finding
Yeah, the Jurassic period at 2 million years ago, but that's neither here nor there.
Godzilla's footprint. It was suggested further with evidence that Godzilla came from an environment where prehistoric animals still lived.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are talking about the theoretical creation of the original Godzilla in the original film. Now, can you please get back to Godzilla '98 and explain to me why it's a good movie?
Even if that's the only explanation we got, none of that is officially confirmed. But one thing is clear to us: he's generally a mutated dinosaur.
Yeah. So what? Get back to Godzilla '98. Stop with this whataboutism bullshit.
But saying Godzilla is not an iguana is like saying tomatoes aren't fruit.
That Godzilla is not an iguana. Factually speaking, that is his origin is not that of an iguana. The monster in Godzilla 98 is a mutated iguana. The fuck point are you trying to make?
Or in this actual case, iguanas aren't dinosaurs, which is so not true.
Iguanas are factually not dinosaurs. They are factually not dinosaurs. You don't know what the fuck a dinosaur is. I do, bitch.
Lizards, even birds as well, are all descended from dinosaurs.
No, lizards are not descended from dinosaurs. Birds actually are dinosaurs. So, okay, you know what? You're gonna get a fucking science lesson. Lizards first appeared in the Jurassic period, I believe it was around 199 million years ago. Dinosaurs first appeared about 240-ish, 250-ish million years ago, at least the very earliest dinosauromorphs. Dinosaurs are part of a group of reptiles called the archosaurs. And lizards are on the opposite end. They're part of the lepidosaurs. While they are both reptiles, they are completely different in terms of reptiles. Dinosaurs have more in common with crocodilians and especially birds, since they are dinosaurs, as well as phytosaurs, idosaurs, and rhyasuchians, than they do with lizards, who have more in common with tuataras, plesiosaurs, placodonts, nothosaurs, and all other lepidosaurs. They are not descendants of dinosaurs. They are entirely separate reptiles.
They're related the same way all organisms are through common ancestry.
Yeah, but they're not the descendants of dinosaurs.
The idea of making this Godzilla...
What is the point of this entire point any fucking way? Why are you You're not This is, at best, you're trying to argue why not Godzilla is a cool monster. And we'll give you I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. You've made your argument and it is solid, even though it's not. You fucking failed at it. But we'll just say that you have made a solid argument. That does not justify the changes to the design, and you're not explaining why the movie is good. You're not giving your references.
more realistic is through relating how the original was depicted as a reptile. And if this doesn't appeal to you...
What does that... What... You're inventing arguments. You're inventing people. People would have been. They would have, even if they didn't like it, they would have gotten over it if the monster looked like Godzilla and acted like Godzilla. Because you're adapting an already established property. You idiot. This is an already established property. Godzilla has specific traits and characteristics that he has had for decades. And this film did not adapt any of them. None of them. None. People were pissed about that. And then the other shit, like him being an iguana and him laying eggs or all that other bullshit, was just kind of like rubbing salt in the wounds, or the cherry on top of the shit sundae, I guess would be a better way to put it. People would have been perfectly fine, or they would have been more accepting of that other shit if it actually was Godzilla. This entire thing is just completely fabricated.
Then you won't like the cartoon series either, because...
No. Because in that iteration, Godzilla in that iteration acts more like Godzilla. The series is structured more like what a Godzilla TV show would be like. He actually has atomic breath in that one. It's green, but his spines light up. It's an actual atomic attack. He fights other monsters. It actually has elements of the franchise in it. That's why people like me are more accepting of it.
Zilla Jr. is the exact same creature like his father.
Yes, he is the exact same creature, but he acts more like Godzilla. That is why people prefer it over the piece of shit. You are... Ugh.
As far as I'm concerned, TriStar did nothing wrong with this film.
Yes, they did. You're fucking wrong. They did pretty much everything wrong. Adaptation-wise, it's terrible. And even just from its own standalone film, it makes no sense. The characters are retarded. The plot is contrived. Like, it blatantly takes from other properties and follows and it's just a it's just another Roland Emmerich film, basically. Granted, it was before it was before. Now, granted, this was before Roland Emmerich kind of fell out of popularity, but still, they did everything wrong. Everything. From a film, from a basic filmmaking standpoint, and from an adaptation standpoint.
All I'm saying is this Godzilla is a new species, but I'm also
Yeah, because it's not Godzilla. It.
talking about how different the style has changed.
Yeah, it. Okay, imagine if we have a Superman film where Superman can't fly. He's slightly stronger than the strongest man in the world. So technically speaking, he is super strong, but he's not like Superman strong. He has no super speed. He has no heat vision. He has no super breath. He's not powered by he's not powered by Earth's yellow sun. He's not buff, but he's like 5'0", 170 pounds. His outfit, instead of being red and blue with the yellow on and the emblem, it's pink. It's pink and brown with turquoise behind the S emblem. Would you call that Superman? No. And then if I were to come here and say, oh, well, it's different and that's why you don't like it, and go on long-winded, nonsensical explanations trying to justify it, you'd call me a fucking idiot, as you should.
Video games are the same way. If you look at Mega Man Legends,
why are we talking about Mega Man?
It went so far away from the old Mega Mans and Mega Man X style and formula. And look how good it turned out.
Okay, look, I don't know shit about Mega Man, so I'm just... As somebody who knows stuff about Mega Man, could you please... But is it... Wouldn't... But, like, Mega Man still looks like Mega Man. Okay? I'm not sure how the gameplay is, but clearly it was made for a different generation console, and they tried something different. Fine. They tried something different. But I guess you could still say it was recognizable as Mega Man. This is unrecognizable as Godzilla. That is the point. What part of that do you not understand? Or are you just deliberately not getting it?
And look at where it ended up as well. Can you smell the irony? So
no.
This character can be different and succeed. Why can't this one?
Because it's not Godzilla. It's not Godzilla. That's not the design of Godzilla. It has none of the characteristics of Godzilla. If you want to defend it as its own unique thing, that's fine. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to defend it as an adaptation of Godzilla. And you're doing a horrible job at it because that's not Godzilla. It's not Godzilla for every reason that I and so many others have stated. You've also not demonstrated why this movie is misjudged. Like, Jesus Christ.
Godzilla's almost anything like a dragon and a dinosaur, so why not an iguana?
I've already went over why people would have been fine with if it would have been fine with the iguana origin and the laying of the eggs. I've already been over that. I'm not going to repeat myself.
And who doesn't like the little guys?
Iguanas are assholes. Iguanas are colossal assholes.
I'll admit, at least the fire breath should have been added, but overall...
It's not fire, it's concentrated radiation.
I think everybody's being very unfair and are just too...
No, we're not. You haven't proven why we're being unfair.
Too afraid to admit how this Godzilla can be his own thing.
I hate this argument. Can you have an iteration of Godzilla be its own iteration of Godzilla? Yes. Shin Godzilla proved that. Godzilla 2014 proved that. The Heisei era proved that. But they were all still Godzilla. They were different iterations of Godzilla, but they were all still faithful to what Godzilla is. No, shit.
Try to do yourselves a favor and forget all you know of the old Godzilla.
No, fuck you. Why should I? Okay, if I'm going into an adaptation of a franchise, why do I need to just completely forget about all the things I love about said franchise just so I can accept the shit that is given to me? Why do I need to turn my fucking brain off to enjoy? Why do I need to consume product and just enjoy product?
Films because, as AVGN says, this is not a practical Godzilla movie. and I stand by that statement.
No, it doesn't matter if it's supposed to, everybody was expecting it to be CGI. Fucking Christ.
But in a good way. It was a new, totally different style, and is still...
Well, I've already explained why it isn't new. At least in terms from a filmmaking standpoint. From an adaptation standpoint, sure. But it's shit as an adaptation, and it's shit as a film, as I've explained. Both in my review of it, which I'll link in the description, and in this particular response.
A great flick. People have looked down on it for a lot of negative reasons.
And those reasons are very justified.
But there are lots of positive outlooks to consider.
Not a lot. There are some, I'll admit, but not a lot.
It had good music done by David Arnold.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's like, oh, all this, yeah, very superficial. Very superficial aspects of it were okay. I'll admit that. Some of the effects haven't aged well, however, some of the others are okay. Some of the others are okay. Some have like the baby velociraptors have not aged particularly well, at least CGI wise, but some of the shots of Not Godzilla are okay. They are okay.
Outstanding animatronics and
which weren't used a lot.
Miniature models, as well
Which weren't used a lot.
as very convincing CGI effects.
At the time, maybe. At the time, maybe. Some of them are okay now, but some of them have not aged well. But I won't go so far as to say that they're awful.
And believe it or not, rubber suits which people had to learn to walk like the raptors do.
Yeah, no, they weren't used that often.
They first rehearsed on stilt legs.
Yeah, okay, yeah, fine. The effects for the superficial stuff for the most part is okay. It's fine. Your point? Like, tell me why the story you failed at the characters. You didn't even fucking try with the story, the plot. Then you spent God knows how many times trying to tell me why Not Godzilla is a good monster. But you failed at that, and you didn't even bother. And you say, well, he's new and unique and different. So why can't you accept it? And I've explained to you multiple times why people fucking hate the monster in terms of design and how it's representative of Godzilla. This video is fucking garbage.
And then in partial suits. And finally, in the full 80-pound bodysuit.
Honestly, that's effort in my eyes.
Yeah, okay. Oh, the movie had a decent budget. Your point?
And because of the movie, we had a kick-ass soundtrack album.
They had the money. They had money. What's your point?
Featuring various song artists such as The Wallflowers, Jamburokai.
Okay. This is all superficial. Yeah, they had a decent budget. They got some decent effects in there. Some of them are decent even to this day. They have some okay music. But this is like when people talk about the hyperspeed ramming in TLJ and say it looks visually stunning. Yeah, you're right. Makes no fucking sense. Makes absolutely no fucking sense why it should happen. But it looks it looks very stunning.
Rage Against the Machine. Puff Daddy or Puff Diddy featuring Jimmy Page.
That music video was fucking terrible. I don't like this one. Yeah, it's pretty. I don't like it.
And a spectacular remix of Green Day's Brain Stew with Zilla.
Yeah, that sounds pretty fucking dated. But again, Again, it's like, who cares? You're talking about superficial stuff. Nothing of substance.
Singing, of course. And everyone else that influenced me, it actually grew on me. And with the new reboot here already, all I ask is this. Please give this movie some props before deciding.
No, and 2014 was infinitely better than this. Infinitely better. Like, it's a good movie, or at the very least a decent movie, and it's a much better, from what you're trying to say this movie did, which evidence suggests otherwise. But we'll just say you're right in this instance. 2014 did a much better job of depicting a more realistic Godzilla, it being its own unique thing, but it still remained faithful to the franchise. It still remained faithful to the design of the character. Like, even King of the Monsters, for how bad it was, it's just it didn't betray the franchise. It didn't feel like a knife in the back. It was just a shit movie, you know. Just a shit Godzilla movie. There are other shit Godzilla movies, you know. It was a bad movie. We're all disappointed. We move on. But with this, it's like you promised us a Godzilla movie, and we didn't get a Godzilla movie. That's one reason why.
If it still appeals to you or not. In certain
I have watched it multiple times. It's absolutely garbage, and I hate it.
cases, different is a good thing.
Yeah, and in other cases, different is fucking terrible. Again, I could come out here and helicopter my dick around for 10 minutes and post that to YouTube. That's fucking different from my content. That doesn't mean it's good.
Movies are not always going to come out what we expect.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad.
I know it's not what we wanted, but it's what we get.
Yeah, so just shut up and accept product. Eat product. Consume product. Get excited for next product.
Sometimes we just have to learn to accept it.
Yes, I've accepted. Yes, people have accepted that this film is absolute garbage. That it is a terrible adaptation and a terrible film by itself.
And with his newborn out there kicking ass, it's no wonder he's more worthy of the title. But
yes, because he acts more like
that
Godzilla.
has nothing to do with it.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
This movie was just the beginning.
What do you mean by just the beginning?
After his death, a new one was born that continues the story.
Yeah, in something that is much better. But you haven't. This entire film, this two-parter, you haven't explained shit to me. You haven't explained anything. You haven't explained why this is good.
And don't forget, it's about the characters too, not just...
Yeah, and the characters are fucking garbage, except for this dude. This dude's okay. And Hank Azaria's character, he's okay too.
him, even though the movie bears the title Godzilla. But
yeah, and it's not Godzilla.
In name only. He may not be the original version, of course, but he'll always be our Godzilla.
No. 2014 is our Godzilla, and that's much better. Much better. Regardless of what you think of the movie, it's much better than this bullshit. Much fucking better. Okay, so it's basically over. Yeah, that was absolute fucking dog shit. Like, that was some of... I think I've seen TLJ defenses better than this. This was bad. This was really bad. I hope you all enjoyed, that. So... let's see. Oh god, 2 hours. 2 hours, 23 minutes. Alright, since I'm going back to work on Wednesday, I don't know when I'll get the time to do another one, but hey, so I guess I'll see you next time I decide to do this.